Good morning, friends. We were discussing in the previous video on the plant halophytes. Before that, we have learned xerophytes and hydrophytes. With the nature of their adaptations and the anatomical changes in it. But the halophytes are the plants which has the ability to grow in the high salinity of water. High concentration of salt is present in the water, and in such water the plant has the ability to survive, to reproduce, to grow, and to complete its life cycle. We have heard about the mangroves. Along the seasides, along the bank of the river, the habitat of such halophytes or mangroves, we can see the continuous waterlogging throughout the year. And though the water has a high amount of salt, a normal plant cannot survive in such type of the habitat. When a plant is fed with a high amount of salt water, it will come in danger and cannot survive due to the excess amount of salt. Inhabit in saline soils, tolerant to a high concentration of soluble inorganic salts in halophytes. The plants are affected by these dissolved inorganic salts. Effect may be partially osmotic and partially chemical. Some of the plants has been found to release by the process of osmosis in their water drops or molecules, the salts have been released. To maintain turgidity of the cell sap is much more concentrated. Peculiar features of the halophytes. A vast number of halophytic flora are succulents, as like xerophytes plants. Leaves are thin, small, leathery, and spiny to minimize loss of water in transpiration. Most of the halophytes plants seems to be thin leaves, small leathery and spiny to minimize a loss of water in transpiration process. They have evergreen leaves which have water storage, tissue, prominent palisade cells and thick cuticle. See the mangroves, the plants which produce the nematophores for gases exchange. They are provided with negatively geotropic. That means the roots are to be found commonly underground, but these roots are modified and they grow up above the grounds. Some halophytes exhibit vivipary. Seeds germinate before the fruits break of the plants. The seeds germinate after the fruit breaks, but in few halophytes, we see the seed germinate before the seed coat is break down. Salt glands are present in such type of the seeds. Types of halophytes: lithophilous, Psamophilous, Paleophilous. Lithophilous, they grow on rock near the rocks in lithophilous halophytes. In Psamophilous halophytes, they grow on a sandy region, and in a Paleophilous, they grow in places where the saline soil with a predominance of a clay. Salt swamp and salt desert. They grow in a calm water and muddy spots, whereas mangroves or littoral swamp forest grow on seashores in tropical as well as in subtropical regions. Mangroves, what are mangroves? Look out the pictures which is shown in this slide. Hey! Rani! Roots of epiphytes. See the aerial roots which lies free from the host. The clinging roots, they are just as a support to the host, and the pseudo bulb. Adaptation to check transpiration. Few leaves, thick, leathery, or succulent leaves with the sunken stomata. Classification of epiphytes: protoepiphytes, hemiepiphyte, nest epiphyte, tank epiphyte. Four types of epiphytes have been seen. We'll discuss one by one. A number of species in protoepiphyte of a family, Asclepiadaceae, Peperomia, and a few ferns derive their nutrition from the host and atmosphere. See the protoepiphytes. A number of species of family Asclepiadaceae includes in protoepiphytes are found in protoepiphyte. Peperomia and ferns derive their nutrition from the host and atmosphere. Some of the nutrients are taken from the host as well as from the atmosphere in protoepiphyte. What about the hemiepiphyte? Their epiphytism is linked to their early developmental stages, which they complete on certain host. The life stages, development stages of the life is linked with a certain host in the hemiepiphyte. Later they grow on ground with their on roots and behave as completely independent plant. Example ficus, fig trees, etc. We repeat this hemiepiphyte. Epiphytism of this plant is linked to their early developmental stages, which they complete on certain host. After completion, later they grow on ground with their own roots and behave as a complete independent plant. That is ficus, fig trees, etc. Next, epiphyte. Many orchids form net-like structure to collect large quantity of humus and water on the host plant. Tank epiphyte. The leaves are modified to pocket, funnel, or spoon-like structure to absorb humus and mineral nutrient which accumulate in the bark, surface, crevices of the host support. Palpate scaly hairs present on the base of the leaves to absorb nutrients. For the absorption of nutrients, palpate scaly hairs are present on the base of the leaves. The roots, as are concerned only with the anchorage of the epiphyte on the host. See the figures of the epiphytes on the host. There are 3 diagrams you can observe. Okay, so in first diagram, in first photo, you can see a plant which is growing on a whole host plant which is covering the most of the part of the host, whereas in the second figure you can see how the plant is showing the nest-like structure and which is growing on the crevices of the bark for the holding purpose. So friends, today we have gone thoroughly of the epiphytes. The material slides or PPTs were taken from the slideshare.net or slideshare.com. I am very thankful to the author. This is for the purpose of only the reference. Well, the rest part of this epiphytes or the revision for the epiphytes we'll have in our next video or lecture. If you have any queries or questions, please contact me on my WhatsApp number or on our WhatsApp group. Thank you.